Okay, welcome to another edition of A Time Out with Tony. Today in the studio, it is my honor to have a special guest. Those of you who've been listening to the show, maybe been watching it on YouTube, you know over the last 4 weeks I've been talking about the 4 qualities of a good man. And I gave you 4 character traits that I believe every good man possesses as the basic foundation, the fundamental of being a good man. Those characteristic traits were: 1, he cares, or he has the capacity to love others. 2, he's a man of character, right? 3, he is a competent man, which means he's a problem solver. And 4, he is a committed man, which means he's committed. You can count on him. He's bankable. You can depend on this man. So my guest today is somebody who I think embodies all 4 of those qualities. He's somebody I certainly think is a good man. And I think after you hear his story, you will also agree with me that he is a good man. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to the listening audience, Mr. Derrek King. Derrek, say hello to the people.
Hello, listening fam. Glad to be glad that Tony's gonna have me on his show today.
So D, for those who don't know you, Derrek, tell us a little about yourself. Were you born and raised in Boston? Were you transplanted? Tell us a little about you and your background story as a child.
Yes, born and raised in Boston, right in the Roxbury area, Crawford Street, actually. I was first born, then we moved into the Jamaica Plain area, Innis Road. And I born and raised, 54 years now. The youngest of 5. I had 3 older brothers and I have an older sister, which is funny because a lot of people that knew me growing up didn't know that I had a sister until like later on, when they found out. I was like, "You got a sister?" I was like, "Yeah, I got a sister." So, and they would see all the time, but they just they didn't put 1 and 1 together. I said, I'm the youngest of 5. Upbringing was kind of tough. A single mother. My father left when I was young. I think I was about 5 or 6 when my father left. So had to be raised pretty much single mother. My 3 older siblings, Dave just passed away, Doug has passed away, and my sister, Donna, they pretty much, helped out my mother with raising myself and my brother Dal, which has also passed away.
Right.
So right now it's just myself and my sister.
So you mentioned something I was going to ask you. What influence did your parents have on the man you've become today? You talk about your dad leaving when you were young. So obviously, you have a relationship with your father today, I assume, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what influence did your parents have on you, on the man you become today?
Well, I'm going to say it was probably my older brother that had the most influence because he had to become the man of the house at a very young age. Like right after he graduated from high school, like he couldn't probably pursue his dreams of going to college or whatever because he had to, help raise, he had 2 younger siblings. So he had to help my mother, pay the bills, mortgage on the house, and that stuff, things like that. So watching the way he operated, raising us, becoming the man of the house, gave me somebody to look up to and admire, because my dad wasn't there.
Right.
So I had to look up to my brother and my second oldest brother, Doug, as well. So it was like the mindset had become, you have to become a better man than what my father had shown me from him leaving us, especially where me and Dal was so young.
Right.
So that's where it pretty much came from, and also being raised by a strong Black woman and my mother. Now I say strong, I mean strong, listening.
That's right.
I got battle wounds. Because I wasn't.
You listened, right? You knew when she was serious, right?
I didn't always listen, probably hard-headed. You know, I say hard-headed makes a soft behind, and yeah, mine was pretty tender on a weekly basis too. You know, so.
So when you were a child coming up through all that, Derrek, did you go to church? Was God introduced to you? Was faith even discussed in your family through all those challenges you just mentioned?
Oh, absolutely. We was church every Sunday. My grandmother was still alive, so it was like, you know, all the kids, you know, all the cousins and whatnot. We all in church, Church of All Nations, and we was there Sunday. Then we go to Nana's house for Sunday meals. I mean, it was, yeah, we was very spiritual growing up.
Fantastic. So again, as you heard me, as I start the show, Derrek, I talked about the 4 qualities of a good man. And I think you embody those 4 qualities: care, character, competent, and committed. You know, when I invited you, I wanted people to hear your story, and I'm going to get more in depth into that. But I wanted people to really take a listen as we go further in the interview as to, you already talked about some challenges that many people still face today, right? Your dad left. You were raised by siblings, which is not an uncommon story, unfortunately, particularly in the Black community. But through all those challenges, you know, what I hear so far, what the common theme was love. Even when mom had to get the belt out for you a few times, there was still love, right? Which helped you to become the man and persevered in who you are today.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about you. You're growing up. You're the youngest of 5. You take a liking to the sport of basketball. Right, and you become very good at it. And I've heard you share this story before. You give a lot of credit to the ball player you became to your older brothers. What was it that drew you to the sport of basketball, and what role did they play in helping you become an outstanding ball player?
Well, my father actually introduced me to the game of basketball. You know, he played a little bit. So he would come and get us and take us to the gym, me and my brother Dal to the gym with us. You know, we shoot around on the side. So he actually put the ball in my hand. So it was at a very young age. So I've been playing since I was like 6, 7 years old. You know, been playing. I used to live in the Eggleston Square area, go to the park, go to the playground right there, which was the English Annex, the Theater Road. It went from English Annex to the Theater Roosevelt. But playground right outside of which was Eggleston Square Station. There was a school there. So I would be there every day playing, nail the hoop up in the backyard, playing crate ball. You know, anybody, you know, from the 60s and 70s era understands crate ball. So, you know, that's where it came. And I just loved the sport, and being the youngest in my house and couldn't win a fight. You know, so I had to do something else, you know, getting in trouble and everything in school. So I had an outlet. So basketball became my outlet. And I played. I mean, I ate, slept, and drank basketball. You know, it didn't matter what the weather was. And, you know, at 9 years old, I played on my first team. We had BNBL had came into the Jamaica Plain area, Cornwall Park. So I seen it coming home from school one day, and I got the fly, gave it to my brother. So he coached the team. Just, I got all the guys, but he coached the team. I thought I was pretty good at the time at 9, because everybody I was playing with was, you know, 3 to 4 years older than I was. But I was holding my own. I was kind of tall for my age at the time, because like I said, the guys that were 3 or 4 years older than me, they were either my size, I was either their size, or someone was smaller than me. We would play in the park all the time, and I would, you know, I could hold my own. So, you know, it's BNBL at the time was 15 and 19. So I'm playing 15 under. I said 9 years old, thought I could play, and boy, did I get a rude awakening most games. You know, I miss a layup. I let the ball bounce over my head. You know, it was a pride come out the game. You know, my brother, you know, like, you know, he did some things to me on the sideline. Might have smacked me upside the head, might have punched me or something. You know, you think you're good, you're never going to be good. You know, I had to go through that, but, you know, I had kept playing. Then he had one friend, Silas Dobson, which was, he went to CM, then he went to Boston State. Sarge can play. Left-handed, He's about 5'9", maybe 5'10". He's stocky, can, very physical, can play. So he would take me to the park, and we would play. And he would send me home crying every day, telling me, "You'll never be good. You ain't got it." But every day I was back at the park,
Right.
So it's a challenge that was put before me, and I'm like, I'm going to be good one day, and and my measuring stick at the time was I was going to have to beat him on the court some way, somehow. Even if I can like get by him and score something, that would be, I'm like, I'm here. It would say
Right.
I arrived.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's where it started at.
So you go through that training period, and it basically was just they tapping into what they saw the potential in you, but they wanted to keep you humbled at the same time. So they're challenging you, and they're keeping you at a space to let you know that you still got work to do. So you accept that challenge, and you start to excel as a ball player. Now you move on to high school. You have an outstanding high school career. You're City League All-Star, heavily recruited. What happens after high school for you, for your I'm sure you had dreams and ambitions. So you go through all that. You worked your butt off to overcome some tremendous odds. Now you're in high school. You're being heavily recruited across the country. What happens next?
What happened next? Well, I didn't handle my business in school academically. I was a good student, but I didn't have the qualities and the skills ready for college, pretty much, like study skills. There's certain things that you have to be ready for college. And I didn't have them. Like going to school, like I could do my work. I got good grades and everything, but I just wasn't college ready mentally. So I figured I would, I was going to end up going to Maine Central, MCI at the time, but that fell through. So then I was a late enrollee at RCC. And with Pete Washington was the coach over there. And I told Pete, I said, I'm only going to be here 1 year. I said, that's it. I said, I got to go upstairs and play. I got dreams of playing on the Division I level. I got dreams of, probably, possibly making the league. So, went to RCC, was going to class and everything, grades were good. The season was going great. Still in touch with coaches. So everything was looking good until the end of the season when they said we was ineligible because, the AD's office, of course, they didn't fill out the eligibility forms that you have to fill out, as you know, Tony, when you play at the collegiate level.
Right.
So when that fell through, it was almost like it almost like dampened my dreams, like, put a black cloud over it or something, because I had pretty much just went through the same thing my senior year of high school. And I say that because we had went to Pittsburgh. We went to the University of Pittsburgh. I played with Eddie Cole and Young Life. So we went to the University of Pittsburgh to play in the Young Life tournament. So we get down there, play and everything, Eddie talked me up. So, they was all expecting me to do well down there, and I did. I showed out. So they had talked to me about leaving Boston and going to Canton, transferring down to Canton McKinley, which was, a powerhouse school. They were heavily ranked. So I was like, what did I talk to my peoples? And they was like, yeah, it sounds good, And when my mother signed off on it, I was really shocked because,
right.
She's like, you don't know how to act. But, it was an opportunity. So going into my senior year, I went and talked to, my coach and everything. He was okay with it. Talked to the headmaster, Stacy Johnson, because, I knew him because he knew my family. So, I had a conversation with him, and he was like, well, Derrek, you're going to have a pretty good team coming back next year. And I thought about it, I'm like, yo, we come back. We're going to, I got the same team coming back. I'm adding a couple of pieces. I said, ain't nobody going to beat us. I said, because, people, they struggled with us my junior year.
Right.
We lost some close games, which we should have won. I said, but next year, adding some pieces, we're going to be good. And I said, we're going to run through the city. We're going to win it all. So I'm like, all right. So I canceled the Kent McKinley thing. Canceled that. So I stay here in Boston. We go through the season. We get ready to start the season, and boom, I get a gut punch. So I have Jay Johnson. They tell me Jay's ineligible. Say he's been in high school 7-8 years. I'm like, oh my God. Derek Bartwell. They said he was ineligible. He just finished playing football. I'm like, he's ineligible. Jerry Simmons. They say he was ineligible because he got caught up with something. At the end of last season. Dave Mitchell, they said he was ineligible because, they said like he broke a window at another school or something before he transferred to JP. And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? I was like, so you're taking away my whole front court.
Right.
I said, oh, my bigs, I'm like, so I'm left with me, Keith, Junior Barnes, and a bunch of some sophomores. And so they're like, oh, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I can do it? I said, well, so what do you think? I got to score 60 points a game? I said, against other teams in the city, and everybody's loaded at the time.
Right.
You was at West Roxbury. You all were big.
Yeah.
You had English and you had Madison. So everybody, I'm like, so you, like, really? So, I kind of during the season, some games I would go all out. And then some games I would just be reserved. So that was pretty much on me. I was, because I was like, I felt betrayed.
Yeah, I can see that.
I felt betrayed. So it's like, damn, so then moving forward, going to RCC, then the next year, then that happens, saying that we're ineligible. And I'm just like, this is 2 years. And I'm like, how does this happen? I said, right. What are you telling kids that are 17, 18, and 19 years old? That it's okay? I said, it's not. And like back then, there was a saying that, with black ball players, that when they go to play for a white coach, that only the white coach just want to use you for your athleticism and what they can get out of you. But here at the time, City of Boston school, black administration, it happens. I go to RCC, black administration, and it happens. I'm like, right. So, what am I to do? So I pretty much, at the end of that season at RCC, I pretty much shut it down. I was like, I didn't see basketball as being my ticket out anymore.
And I know that had to be hard for you, man, because you talked about it from a childhood. You're playing at 9 years old. You have the dreams, the aspirations. You're working hard. You're going through all the things you've gone through, and to have it end, and you have no control over that, right? Those are things that happen to you that you have no control over. And I think that's what a lot of men get caught up in. We get really upset about something that we literally have no control over. You couldn't control that situation, although you would have loved to. You couldn't.
Right.
And I think it's also important to note, Dee, this is part of your story too. You also experienced some tragedy in your own family during that time period as well, if I'm not mistaken. You lost an older brother during that time period, right? And you've seen some.
Yes.
I don't want to put it nicely because it's not nicely, but you also throughout during this time period of your life experienced some tragedy and some losses in your family through violence and some other things, right? And if you don't mind sharing a little bit about what else took place in addition to what you just said about basketball. Your personal life was in disarray a little as well.
Right. So after that whole situation, I see I shut it down. So I had some conversations with some people trying, like a coach. One of the coaches called me from Geneva College, and, he was still very interested. It's a NIAI school in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania. So, I was considering trying to get the fire back, but I came home one day. The young lady I was talking to, I was up at school with her. So I came home. I think it was like Thanksgiving, just before Thanksgiving break or something, Christmas break. And I called home, and my sister's like, "You got to come home." I'm like, "What are you talking about? What's wrong?" She's like, "You got to come home." She wouldn't tell me like over the phone, but then she's like, "Well, one of your brothers, well, she said, your brother Doug got killed." And I was like, "Who, Doug?" I'm like, the guy that doesn't say anything, that's real quiet. So, and all I can think about is that can't be true. It has to be, you know, one of my other brothers, either Dave or Dal, you know, because I know how Dal, my brother Dal, was pretty much, you know, thug life in the streets at times. So I, you know, but he was quiet too. But I know, but Dave, you know, and Dave's pretty reckless with his mouth at times, right? But you know, I could never phantom it was Doug until I came home, and I walk in the house, and I see Dave and Dal sitting here, and I'm just like standing in the doorway, like. And my sister comes over to me and she hugs me. And I'm just like, you didn't tell me Doug. She's like, yeah, that's what I said. I was like, no. I was like, no, it can't be, you know? So, you know, that put another like damper on it, because it was like, I can remember it was December 18th, 1986, you know? So, and it's just like, wow, you know, a week before Christmas, here we go, you know, have to deal with that.
Right. And unfortunately, history would repeat itself again as you'd watch another brother.
Yeah, my second brother, Dal, about 3 years later, 89, I think it was 89, was in the house, was relaxed, and he came in and said somebody down the street was trying to stab him. So I'm saying, I'm just like, oh my God. So I hear him ruffling through the kitchen. So then he just runs back out the door. So I'm like sitting there. I'm like, I jump into my sneakers. I got no shirt on and I run outside to see what's going on. He's having a fight with this guy, you know, straight up fight one-on-one. And then the guy's girl ran up on him and stabbed him in his heart. Right. And I'm just like, oh my God, you know, to witness that, I'm just like, you know, I froze. I was nothing. I didn't know what to do, you know? And it's, you know, it's just like, that just didn't happen.
Right. So here's where I'm going, Derrek. So you just went through two huge letdowns in the sport you love, your outlet, which was basketball. You just lost two older brothers who played a pivotal role in raising you. All that's happening to you at one time. Were you encouraged to seek professional help? Did you seek counseling? Because one of the challenges we have as men is, you know, we don't go talk to other people about our problems. We try to just kind of cope with them and deal with it ourselves. Were you at any point in time, you know, have an opportunity to go talk to somebody professional for help? Or if not, how did you deal with it? How did you cope with all that? That's a lot to handle at a young man at an age, you know, which is that really developmental age of, you know, teenage years to your early 20s. That's a lot to cope with, seeing your dreams blow up and losing family members.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really talk to anybody at the time. But my Uncle Melvin, he came by, he got me, we went, you know, we had like we spent like about 5 hours together talking, you know, about it. You know, and, you know, I talked, you know, me and my sister talked about it, but professional help, no, I didn't, you know, I didn't, you know, I didn't. It's just like, I just didn't know which way to turn.
Right.
So, you know, and speak with my Uncle Melvin, he put me in touch with Keith Martley, because he was doing Young Concerned Black Men.
Concerned Black Men, yes, I'm familiar with the program.
Right, when he was at Northeastern.
Right.
So I went down there, had a round table with Martley, I think Vice Chancellor of Northeast. I mean, there was some people at the table, and I was walking, I was like, you know, I was kind of intimidated because I wasn't expecting all the people at the table. So, you know, obviously my Uncle Melvin set it up. So I got down there, talked to them and everything. So I started helping them out with that. So the plan they had was that help out with that, get me back into school at Northeastern and play. You know, that was the plan. But I didn't follow through with that either. You know, I didn't follow through. I helped out with you know, with the Saturday program, but I don't know. I just sitting in a class, you know, it would have been a lot to swallow just jumping back into it. Now,
Right.
if it would have been like, well, let's start off with a class and, get you acclimated, then maybe, it would have worked out. But you talking about a full load, during the week, mentally, I wasn't ready for that.
You weren't ready for that. And and what I hear and what I appreciate is that you had a self-awareness of yourself, that you knew that you weren't ready. You mentioned that a couple of times. Earlier you said you weren't ready to go to college. You knew that. You didn't have anybody no one had to point that out to you. You just knew that you didn't have
Right.
the skill set to move and be successful. And here again, you're faced with another choice. And again, you've identified that after all you've been through, that you were not ready to sit into a full-time course load at the college level to be successful. I want to take a minute now to shift gears. You've just shared all that with us. I want to talk about the next chapter of your life. And the next chapter involves you getting involved in the hustle game of dealing drugs.
Right.
I know how your dream just got derailed. You just shared with us how your dreams got derailed. But what else was the appeal or the allure that got you further away from your dreams and goals by getting into the hustle and into the drug game?
That came about. It came about. Let's see here. It happened. I wasn't getting into it to become like rich or anything. What had happened is that we had lost the house. Okay, so we lost the house. So then we moved down to Bragg Street from Ennis Road. So my thing, when I got into it, my objective was to make the money, obviously, and buy my mother another house. That's cut and dry. That's what I got into it for. Not to have the fancy cars and the jewelry and be running around out here, like I'm a baller. Absolutely not. I had a goal. I had a purpose. And most people can tell when they see me, they didn't even know that I was involved in the game. They didn't. So it was like when people found out, they was like, all you do is play basketball. We see Sunday League, see you playing basketball.
Right.
Nobody knew. I was so far under the radar that it was funny. And like I said, that's the only reason why I got involved with it. Then I end up going to prison. Yeah, I ended up getting a 10 mandatory sentence, but I didn't do the whole 10. I got in there. I met some guys that understood the law, that taught me the law. So I worked on my case, and long story short, I overturned my case on a Rule 30 motion, and I ended up, I only did 4 years under 10. And then I just had my lawyer change my name from Derrek to David, and I got my brother out. Also because he went in with me.
Right. Right. So, you had a 10-year bid and you worked behind the scenes. So to get that reduced, you fought. But what I wanted to ask you in addition to that, and I think is a remarkable story of shows the kind of character that you have, but how else did you stay motivated? Because whether you did 4 years or 4 days, being in prison is tough, right? It's not no one desires to be there, right? It's a place of encouragement. You'll see some of the worst human atrocities you could ever even imagine, and some you can't even think about. And you're not treated as a human. You're dehumanized in there. What kept you motivated while you were behind those walls, while you were working on your case to get out? But what kept you going, man? What was that thing? Did you lean on faith? Was it your faith from your childhood? What was it that kept you going? Was it God? Tell the listeners what motivated you, man, day after day to keep going despite your circumstances.
Kept me going is that I wasn't going to stay there for 10 years. I said, and if I had to stay there for 10 years, I'm going to fight every day. And that's what I did. And I get, my case. I was on my case. I lived in the law library. And before I even thought about going to the gym, I was working my case. I was working my case, reading the law, learning the law, and when that was done, then I, went to the gym for a little while, played some hoops. But the thing was like, you know, I can't sit here. I can't, if I have to sit here for 10 years to do this whole bit, I'm going to fight. And by the time they tell me at the last stop that I've been denied, I'm probably 8 years in. So then it's downhill. So that was my motivation of, listen, I'm not staying here. I'm getting from behind these walls, behind this fence, you know, because it's hard when you walk out in the summer and it's, you know, you can't do anything. And at night, you're locked in your room, your cage, your cell, whatever you want to call it. And it's 80 degrees out at night. And you start thinking about the things that you used to do at night when you was out hanging out with your fellas, you know, with the girls or whatever, just enjoying, you know. Then you miss your family. You know, you're putting your family through this. You know, I don't know if everybody that's locked up thinks about things like that. But when you're locked up, your family's locked up also. Your friends are locked up with you, you know, because, you know what I'm saying? You think of all the things that you all done and the bonds that and now you all can't do that. You know, you can't do that. I miss, you know, my family, my friends, you know, you, Jeff, Dallas, you know, all you guys, you know, the Dotties, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we had so much history that now suddenly it's like, damn, you know, what am I going to do tonight? What are you going to do?
You mentioned friends, D. What did you discover about people who you thought were your friends while you were incarcerated?
What you learn when you're incarcerated, you learn who your true brothers are. You learn that, you know. People can talk about it, right? But, you know, if they can't put a 29-cent stamp on an envelope and just send you a letter, just say, hey, ain't got to be no 3 pages. It can just be one sentence. Hey, I'm just thinking about you. Hang in there, bro. You know, 29-cent stamp. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That lets me know, or let anybody know that, yo, you know, listen, I care for you. You know, right. I care for you. You know, I can say, like, Tony, you came to see me. You and Jeff came to see me, wrote me. Dallas came to see me. You know what I'm saying? I could call, you know, the Dotties, Dave D, whenever I, you know, needed to, you know, or the other people I could call, you know, but that's how you know who really stands next to you.
Because you were really popular, D. I mean, you had a lot of people who wanted to be affiliated with you, right? Who wanted to be your friends. But during this darkest hour for you, I think you just said eloquently, you found out who was really your brother and not just an associate.
Right.
And I see so many, I've talked to brothers before. I know people in my family who've gone through this scenario, and they think they got all these friends. But man, you really find out who's in your corner when you're going through something like life-changing as what you've gone through being locked up, incarcerated. Before I move on, I wanted to ask you one more question. While you were there behind those walls, were there times when you looked around and just looked at your surroundings and thought to yourself, how did I get here? Were there times where you just reflected, D, on the choices you made and you didn't blame anybody for where you were? Because I know who you are. So I'm talking about, you're the kind of man, you don't blame anybody. You accept responsibility. But were there times where you would just reflect, man, look around and just say, man, how did I get here? I went from being this young basketball phenom to being locked behind this wall, this cage, as you said eloquently. Were there times where you just reflect, man, and was that part of the driving force that said, you know what, I got to get out of here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every day from the first day I was there, I was like, what the hell am I doing? What the hell just happened? I'm like, life just stopped. You know, I'm like, this isn't good. This isn't good. You know, I'm like looking around day after day after day, looking at the walls, the bars, the fence. I'm just like, you know, what the hell did you do? You know, and again, absolutely, I take full responsibility for what happened, what I did. And I tell anybody at any point in time, that's on me. I can take responsibility. I did it. You know, I did. Didn't nobody force me. Didn't nobody put a gun in my head. Didn't nobody, you know, do any of that. I made the choice to do that. Okay. I put myself in that position, you know, which, you know, no, I shouldn't have. I should have made a better choice, you know, but, you know, I was trying to do something. So I put myself in, you know, like they say, in that thing, there's pretty much only one or two places you're gonna go. You're either gonna go to prison or you're gonna get killed. one or two, you know, one or two. Fortunately, some people make it out and they're good, you know.
Yeah. But again, as listeners are listening to this, as I've always said, this goes to demonstrate there are a lot of good men who are in the penal system. Maybe they made some bad choices. Maybe they got caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. But we have a lot of outstanding men who are behind those walls. And as you said, Derrek, we need to remember not to forget them. You know, the cost of a stamp says, "I love you," keeps those men going.
Absolutely.
So now you work, you get released, D, you worked hard your case, you got it overturned, you're released. Once you come out, what was the hardest transition in coming back to the community for you?
Hardest transition? To be honest with you, I don't think it was a hard transition. You know, I think because of my character and the way I am, you know, I'm, you know, it's not like I needed anything. I didn't need, you know, again, to be standing out. You know, mostly when I came home, people would look me right in the face at the time, didn't even know who I was until somebody had to tell them. It's like, oh, they all thought that I moved out of town. Oh, damn, you moved back to Mass? Nah, man. I just had a 4-year vacation. You know, I said, but the transition, it wasn't hard because I came home. I started working. I started working at the RCC bookstore with Todd. He gave me a job there, and young lady Donna Daniels was working for a temp service. She helped me get a job, you know, got me some placements. The job that I started working at the print shop, I got that through the temp agency through her, and you know, it was just all I did was work when I came home. Just work, pretty much. What was it? 10 to 3 at the bookstore, and then 4 to midnight at the print shop. You know, just stayed busy.
So you dove back in. You had some people who looked out for you, gave you a break, obviously, to help you get established again. And one of the things you also did was you dove headfirst in volunteering with working with youth in the sport of basketball. You dove headfirst into that, D. Why was that a priority for you? Given what you just gone through, most dudes would have been like, let me just take care of myself. Man, I just did a 4-year bid. I'm trying to get myself together. But you dove headfirst and got right involved in volunteering with working with young people. Why was that a priority for you?
Because we have to give back. You know what I'm saying? We have to motivate the kids. We have to give the kids what we have. You know, it's basketball. What do I know best? Basketball. So, you know, the opportunity was presented to me by you. You know, you presented this opportunity to me, the league that you was running at Marcella Park. And I was like, great, I'm all in. Whatever you need, you know, whatever you need. When you went from Marcella Park to Lena Park, whatever you need, you know, it's just the drive in me. If I'm not going to play, then at least I could teach, you know, and you don't only teach just basketball, you teach life skills, you know, you let them know that you can use this, but you got to also use your head. You got to be a thinking person.
That's a good point, man. I mean, we obviously, and I tell people, and I say this often, you don't kill a young person's dream, but you get them to open up their mind and open up their vision to see the whole picture, not just a narrow lens. So you're doing that. You got involved. Today, you're successful. You're working, D. You're a working man. You're a father, which has changed. You know, congratulations, you're a dad.
Thank you.
You're still involved in youth sports as an official, as a coach, and I know you speak. What message do you share with your son and the other young men and women who you interact with on the pitfalls of falling into that trap of getting into the game?
I tell them, listen, that's not what you want to do. That's not what you want. It might be a struggle out here, but you're better off fighting the struggle than having somebody tell you when you can eat, sleep, and play. I said, it's that simple. Go to school. I said, there's a lot of opportunities out here. Colleges are meant for everybody. Everybody's not ready for it. I said, but you can get a trade. I said, you can get a trade. You can become a plumber, a welder, electrician. I said, you can do those things. I said, and be a productive citizen in life. I said, you'll be happy. It's okay to struggle. It's okay because everybody struggles. None of us are born with a silver spoon in our mouth. So struggle is going to build character. You know, and you got to have character to survive in life.
So D, as we close, I want you to give a final message to the listeners who are listening right now, or even those who are watching this on YouTube. There's a man out there right now who's struggling. He's in that valley of decisions. He's a young man just like you. He's another Derrek King. He wants to be an athlete or whatever his occupation or preoccupation he wants to be, and he's being allured by what he thinks is the fast life, that quick money, and he doesn't know which way to go. He's trying to juggle both, man. What's that last bit of advice you can give to a listener right now who may be facing that decision? Or maybe there's a grandparent right now who has a grandson who's in that scenario. There's somebody listening right now, maybe even behind the walls, man. What's that last bit of advice you can give them, man, on how you turn your life around and do the right things the right way?
It's very simple. For me, I'm going to say it's very simple, and I think for everybody it's very simple. You look at your situation, and you know right from wrong. So you know right from wrong. So the lure of the lights and glitter, it might look good right now, but it's not. At the end of the day, it's not. The grass isn't always greener over there. So stay true to yourself. Lean on people that you know that is going to gear you and help you to steer you and help you move in the right direction.
Well said. To the listening audience, it is my sincere hope that you can see why I believe Derrek embodies the four qualities of a good man. See, a good man is not perfect, and you certainly heard that today. None of us are. He makes mistakes. He makes bad decisions at times, yet he will also accept the full responsibility of those choices. He's a man that loves his family. He's a man that has character. Not perfect, none of us are, but he's a man of character and integrity. He's a problem solver. Derrek talked about his problems and how he overcame those problems. And he's committed to his faith, family, and community. And certainly, I hope you can see Derrek's commitment, how he's committed to his faith, his family, and the community by giving back and by sharing his story. So for those of you who are listening, again, I just want you to just get a sense and to really appreciate this man's journey. Because many men have fallen, but it takes a real strong man to get back up. And Derrek he's a man that's not one who uses excuses. And I've always admired that about him. So if you enjoyed listening to this show today, if you want to just write me and just give me some comments or feedback, you can email me at tony@tonyrprice.com or timeout@tony, whichever one is easier for you. You know, I always end my show by saying, look for opportunities to be encouraging to other people. You know, that's what life's about, encouraging other people. Derrek, you do that on a regular basis. You encourage people. You're still involved with youth sports, and you encourage men who may need to hear your story. There are brothers in the wall who you have not forgotten. So I do the same thing, and I want our listening audience to really get an appreciation of that. So Derrek, I thank you for joining me on the show this evening. And for those of you who are listening, remember, check out the show. I'll have it on YouTube. You'll have it on the podcast. Take time to listen and share with those people who may be in that valley of decision right now, or they're looking for somebody to give them a second chance. That we don't talk about that enough, and maybe we'll have Derrek come back later and talk about how hard it is and what it takes to get a second chance, and having people that support you so that you can get beyond your past bad decisions. So I'm going to end the show by saying that timeout's over, people. Time to get back in the game. Until next time.